Hello everyone, Teacher Gaming here, aka Leviathan. Today I want to talk about my Draksar deck in Poxnora. Now this is going up on my channel here on Teacher Gaming instead of my other one that I had many years ago for Poxnora. I want to give an in-depth view of how I play Draksars, how I build my deck, so if you're ready, let's take a closer look. So I'm not going to be covering what Poxnora is, those that watch this video probably know what it is. But I want to talk about Draksars, and I'm going to take you through it on the website because that is easier for me to build my decks. And we're going to cover all the runes that I have in here at the moment, why I have them, and what I might replace with. And I'm going to be making one or two changes today already. So, yeah, let's start off with what the Draksars are. The Draksars are what you could say Roman legionary style, so you can go phalanx, but you also have some good heavy hitters. Draksars are really difficult to play to a certain extent because at the moment where Poxnora is, you need 4 champions out and then you should be expecting to fight. So it's really OG Poxnora chess piece. You need to consider what you are facing and deploy accordingly to that so you're both adaptive and reactive, but also you are the one setting the tempo. It can be a little bit difficult if you fall behind, but you can also stay in the game because we have the racial mechanic of violence. So always remember that if you're feeling there could still be a chance here or there if my opponent mess up, then give it a go and then see what happens. Now, this is more traditional phalanx Draksar style. There's also the AP denial with call, punish, etc. that I know Trollbait is using. That's looks very fun, but it doesn't really fit the way I play. So I won't be covering that, but it is an interesting one and you should check it out in the Discord where he has posted it. So the first one that we're gonna be covering is the Basilisk Templar, who is an absolute mainstay. Just before he got reworked, I actually started to run 2 of him just because how good he is. He did get a rework where he had his psychic attack removed from him. That was really sad, but to some extent it does make sense because due to Petrifying Gaze, where you petrify someone and they have immunity physical, you can just keep attacking and you can basically 1v1 anything. Now he does need a little bit of a help, so what you want to run on him is obviously scale armor. Vigilance, it's okay, but honestly scale armor just gives you so much in the long run, especially combined with quest kill enemy. You want to target this when you actually do need the heal. Don't just prog it for the beginning. Due to scale armor, get down to 15, 20, even a little bit lower. So like you have 30 health left, 25, then you want to prog it ideally. Then here you can go different ways. I would never go kill sense because you are only slowed 2, but they need to have 4 speed or less. So many champions have 7 speed or can get buffed to 7 speed, and you would never get anything with this from KF. So yeah, for KF, which is a very popular faction, I feel, then this is just not used. Call could be very interesting, but I go with instigate because that means you get in range 1 of everyone in between. So it really fits the whole um, phalanx style, and you have to be careful because you have Slothful in here. So when he attacks, he becomes immobile and cannot move. But overall, really solid, one that you should always consider deploying. But when you know your enemy decks, there might be a few times where you don't lead with him. Otherwise, very strong lead. And then we go on to the archer. The archer is very simple. One that I really have been holding dear to my heart because the archer is always been close to being nerfed or not really working as a Draksar one because then people were like, the archer is usually also used in SL meta mixes, but it's in a very good place right now. It used to have Barrage before, I'll admit that was too strong, but now it is actually perfect. It has decent stats, it has regen 1, it has the Violent, which is the most important to a Draksar. Then you can go Hard Strike, you can go Sundered Exploit, or you can just go Sunder. I go with the Sunder because it helps with the defense. Now here before I used to run Inhibiting Touch, but I realized that Draksars don't really need it. You can maybe one turn something. Otherwise it would be due to FS with the Rejuvenation Fountain. But overall, yeah, I go Precision so I don't have to deal with Evasive. And I feel it's gonna help. Also because there's many um, units that are popular that can give Shroud, or they spawn with Evasive 1 or 2, so this is a good way to get around that and actually get full value out of your Archer. Then we have the Charger. I might take him out today, not sure. Charger, very old school in the Drums of War. Back then, range 1 to 3. I hope someday he gets it back. Would make me happy because there is more 1 to 3 range these days than there used to be. So, but if he's 1 to 2, he's very solid. The reason why I like to run him is because he has initiative, and there's a lot of maps where you can really use this to your advantage if you go second. You can go Elemental Plateau, you deploy him to the top front on your second turn because the enemy has then already 2 champions out, and you can actually take it on your following turn, and then a 1 turn sooner, and you get the Norogen going. At the moment, I run him Regen 2 and Charge 2. I actually just today swapped up from Charge 1 to Charge 2. We'll see how it goes. And again, he has Violent. Really good soul stats, especially his health pool is really nice. So yeah, I like him a lot. Then we have the Confessor. You must have the Confessor in here. I run mine with Designate the Scapegoat. It is free Nora that you have. I believe Scapegoat is what? 35, so you have an ability that basically costs 35 Nora for free on a lower cooldown than the actual spell. You have to take it. And it's also something you have to consider if you're facing SL, especially if you're facing Draksars. Mirror Match is so atrocious. Because if you feel like I'm gonna do a Force Transfusion, I'm gonna do a Quicken, and there's a Confessor out, you must be willing to accept that single target that you're attempting to cast might fail. So it's wonderful when the enemy tries to buff their own units, and then they do this. It can even help you out if they do a Whispers of the Mind, even if it's the Draksar Arch in the back. Yes, it is not that nice to have it lose all the AP and be distracted, but overall, the front line is even better that you can actually use that. And then, instead of distracting blows, dispel, or anything, you gotta go with Pacify. It is one of the most, if not the most powerful ability in the game. And again, you could do Mind Lock, you could do Regen, but you don't really want the Regen, so yeah, Designate Scapegoat. That's the way you go. Then we have one of my personal favorites. Not everyone plays it, but I really like it for the reasons I'll cover. It's range 1 to 3. Flying used to matter more, not so much these days. The stats are okay, especially if she can get up and running a little bit due to Violent. Then you have range 1 to 3 and you get some damage up and going. Deafening Aura would be nice, but it's costly, so I go with Shielded instead. So that means if she's fighting and she has been running up a little bit, then you cannot get a Doom cast on. You cannot get Fading Recollection or something like that. No single target, specific target spell. Hammer Strike from IS. And then I run with Regeneration, just so you can get some heal, because reflexes, that's good, but if you are hit from range, doesn't really help you. Annex, yeah, don't really feel it. And then a personal choice of why I really like her. She has Grand Draconic Force, 2-turn cooldown, only cost 1 AP, and any champion gets +2 damage for each friendly dragon kind within 2 spaces in a Draksar deck that can really ramp up. And I'm thinking of seeing if I can find a champion to add in here, so I have two available, because then you could technically one turn with her, next turn with the other, and then back and forth, and you can get insane numbers. And then we have the High Marshal. High Marshal is really interesting because you can run him like this. Let's first talk about what he has. He has decent stats, range 1 to 2, that's really nice. Dictate got changed overall, so now it's yeah, you gain plus 1 damage. I believe it used to be plus 2 at some point, and then you gain the 2 AP. With a faction that has access to a lot of regen, this is just great. You can use it on an archer even, so it stays back, should be protected. It will just regen the health. Then I run it with regen 2 instead of heal self, because this is more over time. The dot damage can help you, or the dot heal, sorry. In certain situations, Purify would be nice if it had it, but I would rather have health. It has Empathy, so that's really good for the whole phalanx. Dispelling blows, all positive conditions are removed. So even if it's like a Blizzard Cloak, you just hit first with High Marshal, and then it gets removed. And he has Violent, again, really important. And then he has these. These are interesting. I think I'm gonna try with Provision Offense. Just because I have a few Valdaki Construct in here that can slap equipment on, and he might be a good target for the Akakia's Blade, so let's give it a go. There we go. Then we have the High Priest. High Priest is one of those I feel you should try to get out for your phalanx early on in certain games. It's a little bit hard to cover, but overall, cast Blood of the Dragon, really, really good for fighting early on if you face something that are skirmishing, because the enemy takes 6 acid damage, and that's really good. Combined with something like Basilisk Templar, the Serpent Ardent, etc. Someone who can really fight, this helps them just so much and can help you win. Then I go with Weaken spells over Favor Nora, because for a Phalanx style, it helps protect you, and everyone uses spell, I do as well, and that's just great. So, Attack Fire, that's nice to have some alternative damage. Disciple of the Scale. Again, Valdak is in play, then you get a spot healing, really great. Mutate, and Sermon. So, if you are facing someone that you know could rely on early game spells to get their advantage, consider deploying him, but he needs at least 2 units to support him. You could go Basilisk Templar and someone else who's also a little bit melee, like the Consulate, for instance. They would be a good trio, but yeah, get the High Priest in there for the Mutate and the Sermon, really great, and then Weaken Spell. And do not underestimate this one, it can really hurt your enemy. Then we have the Hunchback. Now, Hunchback is in a little bit interesting place. He used to have Tough 2, which made him just really, really good. Apparently, he was meant to be too good, so he still has his Sapping Armor, which is great. One of the reasons you can run him. And then you combine that with Absorb, so you are really good against something like Rangers or any other faction that has a lot of range on you. It helps you with the regen 2. You have Unstoppable, so you cannot be stunned, ensnared, paralyzed, or rooted. Immune to knockback, there's still a decent amount of that. And then you have access to a stun. So overall, really nice and good for a side contest. 75 Nora, good stats. Overall, good utility. Now here's probably a little bit of a flavor pick for me. I like the Draksar Knight. Certain factions run a lot of equipment, UD being one of the more popular ones due to Bogs or Fire Demon. There's a lot of different stuff, Deep Elves also. I like the Draksar Knight because he can spring a little bit of a trap due to having logistic speed. Now this is permanent. You very quickly, in the way Poxnora is, get 4 champions out, then you're having a 7-speed champion for 69 Nora. Then I run him with Restrict. The other options are Duel and Fear. It's okay, but I like the Restrict because, yes, it hurts yourself, but I only run 2 equips, and usually it hurts the enemy more often than not. UD have Arachnid Blade, etc. There's a lot of equipment in the Protector faction, so it's a really nice one to have, and it can be a nice surprise to have. And then Violent, Regen, and Essence Capture. Essence Capture is actually really nice if he gets going just a little bit. And if you haven't seen it already, I do run Channel Violence in here. That means this guy can get 2 attacks off. And with Violent proccing, if he doesn't die quickly, then he helps you generate around 10 Nora per turn after a few attacks. So that's great with the phalanx. And here comes someone who's really needed for the phalanx. He got a rework, and it just made him perfect. Not too powerful, but certainly not weak. Draksar Legionnaire. It is an amazing champion. You have Corporation, Phalanx, you get Regen 2, that's great. You have Hold the Line, you can get range 1 to 4. Other factions have 1 to 4, so that's not too insane. You get up to 3 damage, 3 defense, sorry. You get Planar Bound, Unstoppable, Iron Will, and Defensive Strike, so that's really good. You have Attack Gun, that's physical, that's great. Then you have Violence, so he can actually ramp up over time, and if he isn't dealt with, that can be really horrible for a range 1 to 4. So you could, however, also go with Enrage. So I like that you have options, that is not just a given. And then you have Commander. It's really great. If there were something I would like to do, I would like for him to have Battle Master on base, but in my opinion, champions shouldn't have access to Commander and Battle Master all at once, because that would mean 4 damage. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's too strong for most champions, basically any champion. And I do hope there are minor fixes in there, because I know certain champions have it, but overall, Legionnaire is great for holding the line. It's actually really good when you combine it with the Ardent that we will get to, or the Basilisk Templar. Also because you have Enduring Aura, so you have Scale Armor and Enduring Aura. That is really good for the Basilisk Templar. So, if you haven't run him, give him a go. He will surprise you. Don't just throw him away. Let him ramp up over time. Remember, he gives +2 damage, and you get him up and running. So, he's really good. Let's move on. I have the Draksar Lord in here. Not someone I'm that keen on running, but he is okay. Like, I run him with Pommel, because it's nice for him to be up and in your face. You could run him with Draconic Force, that's nice, combined with the Flame Strike. I do, however, like to get this off, because I can get my Draconic Force elsewhere, so I don't want to run this on him. This is actually quite nice. Then you can run him with different stuff here. Vivify is honestly really cool, so he can get up there and help attacking, same with the Assault. I like to try and run him with Guarded Draksar, because you want him to take some hits, and then they gain +2 AP and +4 damage. And that AP gain is really nice. Again, he is a 2x2, so this is a lot of coverage that he has, and also it fits with a phalanx style. Physical, that's nice. Flame Strike, I don't know why he got it, but it's okay. It's not horrible, and it's good. And this is actually one of the reasons why I really like him, and he fits the whole phalanx style. He has prestige, so everyone gets Iron Will and Fearless. This is really nice if you run into some Intimidate. Regen free and Violent as he should have. So overall, a little bit on the pricey side, but you get 60 health. So, and if you can keep him alive, up and running, he can do a lot of damage. That's basically true for everyone with Violent. Then we have my rune, the one that I like the most, and it's, yeah, I just like him back from the OG day. I think he looks so cool. I run him with Throw Axe for the attack on range, so you get some defense, -1. You could run him with Thunder or Call. I like this though, but give it a go if something else works better for you. If I were to go something else, I might go Sunder, and I could be tempted to try that due to him being up and running, and then I of course run him with logistics, because that means he gets flanking, which is plus 5 damage, and if you go violent, regen, and flanking, that's 16 damage right off the bat. And if you have quicken on, yeah, I guess this could maybe work. I like to do it for the range though, but let's try Sunder. It's all about state of mind when playing Draksars. So let's try that. And he have a camaraderie, so another good reason to have him in here. Helps really well. Then we have the Raven Speaker, a champion I put in here for a very specific reason, and I might take it out. That's probably one of the changes that you'll see happening today. I run Deception, because it's actually quite nice that you can jump over cliffs. And then Mutate. This is where this doesn't really matter. Divert would be okay because it helps. Mutate is good. But what I ran him for was Debilitate. You have the Raven Tongue, that's good because it's any summon is just destroyed. But it's not too powerful because you only get 10 HP, range 1 to 3 Raven. Regen is nice, but this is one of the reasons why I like to used to run him. Still running him, but I'll probably take him out today. The fact that he gets detection. And then the thing that got removed, which I feel is really sad because it fitted him so well, was the dread ability. That was really good, but apparently no one, some people thought wasn't really fitting. I think it fits him really well. And I didn't see him really played outside of Draksar, so yeah, I don't know, but that got removed from him, and that's one of the things I really liked about him the most, especially due to him having Vuln magical, so yeah, it sucks. But I might try something else instead, and I'm gonna be covering it in this video of what and why. Then we have the Rocketeer. Rocketeer's in here for basically one reason, Radiant Blow, again with being range. I used to run him with Explosive Attack, but these days I want to try out Flame Burst. Simply because sometimes if a enemy champion runs up to you, then this could help you knock away and then retreat a little bit back. And also it's knockback free spaces if you can position something correctly, or if the enemy makes a mistake. That's a whole lot of damage right there. And it's only 3-turn cooldown. Here this is okay for the damage, but yeah, gonna try something else. That's also something I feel is really important. Try your deck, change it out after 10 games. Something worked, something didn't work. So that's what I'm doing. And then we have one of those who can win you a game. And that is Serpentor Ardent. Serpentor Ardent is really, really great. It got brought down to 6 speed instead of 7. Personally, I'm a little bit against it because people say champions that are up in this range should be really good, and there's a lot of 7 speed champions here. Now, that's not me saying that he's bad or he isn't strong, because he really is if he gets going. He has seal speed, so in Draksar you can easily get him up to 10 speed quite fast. Then you get the Heart Strike, so you get some AP back, plus 2 damage. Then you have Violence, so he really can get up and running. Then you have the Scrapper, that's great. And then you have the Regen, which Regen free is actually quite big for him. Now, what I run for upgrades, I used to run Battle Leader, but now I actually want to try Fearsome Hunter, because he wants to be in there and doing the fighting, and I think giving -3 damage within 5 spaces and not being able to be attacked by those champions might help him survive a little bit longer. So I'm trying Fearsome Hunter just to see how it works. Here, Sunder could be nice. Yeah. It says 2 stacks of Sundered, so that could be really huge. But I actually really like adaptation because people underestimate this. You can get something like Mind Wipe, you can get Glorious Sleep, you can get hidden abilities like Resolute, for instance, if people aren't careful. You can get so many good things with this, and people tend to ignore it. So consider running that if you're running Sunder, then give adaptation a try. I might swap over, but this would be better for a more Sundering deck instead of this. I feel is more utility up and fighting. Like you get access to a lot of abilities. Then we have the Temple Guard. No surprise, he's really straightforward. Regen 1 and Defender, and then basically you just bodyguard with him. Not much else to say. Have him cheap, have him bodyguard, an archer, Basilisk Templar, something like that. And it's really good. And when he's in the shrine, +7 speed, so it's really good even as an early deployer sometimes, because he does have violence, so he can fight. Then you can retreat to a bodyguard, and he has +2 defense. So overall, really nice. And then I have the only champion that's not a Draksar. Now I'll state this: I love facing decks that are racially built. Dragon, Lonks, Moga, Garu, so many. Draksar Dragon, Demon Elf, Elf, Dwarves. I really have high respect. Slacks, Worms. Oh god, not the Worms. I have high respect for people who run racially built decks. Bogs, a little bit trick of everything, but they are the most recent, well built, and well rounded faction with a racial theme. So I feel people tend to complain a little bit more about them because other racial theme hasn't been brought up to their level. So instead, they want to bring something down. I think maybe there are one or two champions, but that will be a different video, that could do with a slight tinkering. But overall, most racial themes you run one, at most two champions. That doesn't fit the racial theme, but they bring something to it that's just too good to miss out on. For Draksars, that would be Akakios. That's also a dragon. He's not Draksar, but he has Surge. And then it would honestly be Valdak. And the reason is right there on the screen. You have Cleansing Aura, which is just so good in any faction. Free spaces, and he's an X2, so that's really good. And having Cleanse at the start of your turn is great if people miss Cal and they have stunned or done something, and you have something that just barely survives, and then taking a cleanse and they can move again. Then I run Coordination on him. You could run here, but this is AP outside of normal AP. It's okay. Enchant Magic would probably be my go-to if I didn't have Coordination, but I don't have that much equipment, so yeah, not really my thing. But all friendly champions within 2 spaces of this unit gain Encourage. That can really work late game. It won me a game recently against God of Slay, I believe it was, who is so fun to play against, but I don't think it was him. But it was a Ferg deck, I don't remember who, but it was an amazing game. And I like facing racial decks even when I lose. Overall, it's what Pox really is for me. And this is also a reason why you run him. Valdak has Healing Breath. This is so good for some of your units that have low regen or doesn't have regen. Basilisk Templar, I'm looking at you. And you also have access to Cleanse. Then you have regen on yourself, and you also gain an okay summon. And the stats are fine. So yeah, Valdak, I would say, is worthy to include, despite not being a Draksar. Also, he works really well with the High Priest, so overall, run him. I won't look down on people who run some one that doesn't fit the racial theme, because it's just so good and it brings something viable to the table and not just due to being good or having access to something very strong. Then I run the Valdaki Guardian. This was instead of the second Basilisk Templar. I run it with 8 defense, fits the phalanx style. It's really nice because it's just friendly champions on the board. Then I run regen 2. You have immunity acid, you have attack acid that's really good for void shield, one with Nora, etc. And also he has access to violent, which is really cool. I like it. I feel all Draksar should have it, basically, but not everyone has it. There's maybe one champion that I think shouldn't have it. And then you have provision defense. This is overall good, and you can spawn on pretty okay emeralds. So yeah, really good for the price and the stats and range 1 to 2. And then we have the Shield Warden. Shield Warden is nice. I might try something else instead of him, but he's just so good. 11 damage, 6 speed, 2 defense, 52 HP. Can't go wrong with that. Throw shield is nice. I might try provision speed, but I don't have that much equipment. I go with regen 2 instead of the other two, simply because this is more for SLIS deck, and you don't really have that much. You have attack fire, that's really good. Combat awareness 1, resistance magical 3, and you have the melee specialist. So overall, really strong champion. Hard to get better than this. And also, yeah, this is why it has the Tinkerer, because it is a split one. So that was all the champions. Let's move on to the spells. So spells wise, I know Carnivore would love to see this. He's probably one of the people who suffered most back when I was really fond of AoE spells, but not so much anymore, so this will probably like him. Also, I've always had difficulty running close to 19-20 champions, which most people do, because there was just so many good spells, but I've managed to work around it. So for a Draksar deck, you need Channel Violence. It's honestly just so good, because you get the multi-attack, and you get in range for them fighting back. Not much to be said. Must have it. Draconic Benediction is always good for a power turn. I rarely use it, but I still do have it in here because there's just some times where it's nice. For 3 damage and +2 attack. Good old Firestorm. That's it, always worthy to run one. Force Transfusion can really set you up well and can also hurt the enemy. Now the good thing is you can only gain 4 AP, so it's not that broken. And yeah, it's just really good for when you do middle contest. Most people leave a champion with 4 AP, and it's AoE 5, so yeah, that's just great. Quicken for the double attack on just one champion. That's nice. I wish it was 35 Nora. I know it used to be, so people bumped it up because it is a good spell, but considering other spells out there, I think this should be bumped back down a little bit. Quickening. Friendly champions are quickened. Really good overall. I value this more than the Draconic Benedictions. And also, just fun fact for everyone. Did you know there are only 2 spells in this game that has very unique mechanic? And that is Quickening and Draconic Benediction. When you cast it, you cannot cast a spell the rest of your own turn. The only 2 spells that have it. And I will gladly say I feel other factions have similar spells that they cast, they kill something, they gain some Nora, and then they can cast another very strong spell. But only these 2 have it. So just letting the developers and balancing team this be known, because I think other spells deserve this as well. Now, for SL, especially in splits, it's an insane combo, so I can kind of understand why it's in there. I just wish all factions had something like this in there. Tornado really sucks. It was 45 Nora. This spell hadn't been touched ever. It was perfect the way it was, and then some reason people decided to change it. Horrible, but you must run it. For relics, it's just great. And speaking of relics, I run 2. I run my hive. Some people run the acid gem, but that's 5 Nora more, and I like this, to be honest. It's 1 more damage, but it's spread out where the Nora is more instant, so I might change it, try it at some point, but I like the hive. Then we have the war banner, not much to be said there. Then we have the equipment. Akakia's blade, works perfect the way it is. I believe it was 20 at some point, but it got changed. It's been going through a few changes, but it's great the way it is now, honestly. And then we have the spot cleanse. Honestly, sometimes I'm considering running 2 Dragon God Staff. Its cleanse gains purified and you take 2 fire damage at the start of your turn. And then the following turns you can drop it, other champions can pick it up. Really good spot cleanse. It was added in Rise of Zircon. Most factions have some sort of cleansing on their own units, so I really like it. And you can also drop it and then it does, I believe it's 4 fire damage at the beginning of opponent turn within 3 spaces, so it's quite nice. Now let's talk about changes to the deck. And I will be changing just because then we can talk about what, why, and how. So I've already set it up, Sundered Lands, raised Draksar because, yeah, Draksar. So let's cover all the ones that I'm not running. And let's start off with one of my runes that I really like, Blackscale Centurion. He's really cool. Regen 2, Battlemaster 3, 73 Nora. Now the reason why I don't run him is he has too low damage, 6 speed or not range 1-2. You could go up here, but you don't really need it. And here you could go Battlemaster, so there's not that much to work with. And I feel the fact that he only has these two, 6 speed, very low damage, only range 1 here. And Bulwark means you want to deploy him late, but that doesn't really work with Battlemaster. I feel this is not that great for him. He needs something in here. Protective is a really good one, and Violent is also really great, but he needs a touch. So hopefully 2025. Then I might be tempted to run him because he is nice, he looks cool also in game, and Battlemaster really fits well with the whole phalanx style. Brood Guardian, never understood this champion, always I feel been useless. Draconic Force, Lay Fire Trap, Explosive Attack, range 1 to 45. Doesn't have Violent, or you can Detonate Relic, play Fogler Swamp, have Regen. Lay Hatchling, Tortoiseshell, Broodcaller. Honestly, for the cost, I'm not that big a fan of it. The Dragon Handler is nice, but he fits with Dragon decks. Again, he's Draksar himself, but he would work well and be mandatory in a Dragon deck. You can have Immunity, and you can have Drive or Summon Dragon. Drive is great. And he also has, yeah, Magic Attack. Then there's the Augmenter, back when the channel abilities were really nice. Here you can run him like this. Maybe Defiant, but this is at least good regen, but maybe you could run Defiant on him. Empowered here, I would maybe run Empowered Defense to help due to him having Violence, so I wouldn't need the offense, and then otherwise I might run Speed, but Defense would be good, even though it doesn't really have a good mix in here. And then he has Charge, etc., and he has Attack Lightning. So, yeah, Draksar Beastlord, really fun one. So the Beastlord is really interesting because it has Hunter Crippled, Violent, but more importantly Sabotage Armor, which is really cool because you have liability on the enemy and you have -2 defense on said champion. Ferocious Bite, really cool because -3 damage. It hurts. You could also go with the Sunder to fight that. It's 7 speed, that's really nice. Good health. If it had a leap, I think would work well due to it being on a beast. Would be nice. Kill Sense, again, I'm not that big fan of it because 4 speed or less, most have a way to get to 7. And Battle Leader really good, but there's other things to run. So I don't run him due to not having. If he had leap, I might consider running him for the cost. And then I would probably run him with kill sense, see if it could work, because there are some champions with 6 speed, so that would be okay. And then I would probably try out here what works well. Then we have the Draksar Berserker. I used to run him many years ago. He has speed 8, that's really nice, and he has 15 damage. He with violent that can get procced. Regen 3. Could go regen 2. So he could really get up and running. I prefer pounce over charge. So he has some gap closing. And if you don't have a warband out, that's a pounce on 17 damage. And then if he is in one turn, then he and up melee with someone, or even if they move away a little bit, then he can attack again. So you get 30 damage out of him. Really good. The Draksar Bookburner, I really like him. Now Bookburn was changed, which I think is really cool. Now it is a double-edged sword because before it was just your enemy couldn't cast spells next turn. But now it's also so you cannot cast on your next following turn. So that's quite nice. How I would run him is Ignorance. I do feel they should add more to Ignorance instead of just Wizard and Priests. Maybe Shamans, for instance. Or you could say like, yeah, here, Priest, Shaman, Wizard, Priest. Ignorance is a cool ability, not many have it. But 5 spaces is really nice. Regen 2, burn 1, 11 damage, range 1 to 3. It's really nice. Attack fire, shadow summon. Overall, he's really nice for the cost, but when I made this deck, I just wanted to try something new, so I've taken him out, and yeah, it's okay. The Broodlings, don't add them. The Draksar Brood Queen. I know some people like her, but for me, for 75 Nora, I'm not that fan of her. Regen 2, she's not supposed to be a fighter, so this sucks. Draconic Force is really nice out of these two because Draconic Force is really nice to have. Impart could also be okay. Due to the way she works, but it's only 8 damage. You get it away, and yeah, here, if she had access to both Drive and Invigorate, I would consider running her. Layer Hatchling, it's okay, but I'm not that big fan of it. And the reason for that is the Hatchlings have these stats. Now you do have a Death Nova and you can self-destruct yourself, but yeah. I'm sometimes tempted to run her, but I will probably find something else. Chameleon I used to run due to him having Shadow, but I don't feel there's that big of a need for Shadow these days. Stealth is okay, Violent Constriction it's good, but I just found I didn't need him due to the Shadow, so I made other things work. Now if maybe he had just Assassinate rank 1, not access to rank 2, that would be too strong. Or Knockout, so more stealthy stuff. I think he could be really fun to work with. Constrictor, very OG. Can definitely deserve a spot due to having access to Punishing Aura. Or you could go Damage Aura here. That means she's then 16 Aura, really cheap. And then you could add a little bit more, like, but even if you run this here, Regen. You know what, I'm gonna do Life Siphon in case I ever run her. Just simple due to this. Now I'm sad she has lost Amphibious. I believe she should have this base without having Anora attacks because she's a serpent. Serpents move pretty well throughout water, but a champion with Punishing Aura don't see that very often. So she's interesting, and also again Constriction, really nice on a range. The Doomsayer. Doom is nice, but yeah, I don't know. Normally the person then throws the champion away, and you then have to kill it, otherwise just do damage. Now Conquer is really nice, and regen is okay, but overall, good health stat, range 1 to 2. But I feel I have other better options. The Fabricator in here, you can have Declare Vengeance. That is okay. You have Market, you have Boost Construct. Now imagine if this was Boost Draksar. And you have Command, you have Drive, Helpless. Overall, it's an interesting one, but yeah, I don't think it will ever really shine. Then we have the Footman. Oh, what could have been? Block, or Dodge, or Rend, that's really nice. This is nice as well. Attack, Regen, Violent, but only speed 5. If it somehow could get access to speed 6, I would actually consider running this. He used to have Riposte here with the block. It's actually a pretty decent way of comboing it, but without speed 6 you cannot just you cannot use it. And I skipped over the flash blade, so let's jump back here. I might take the flash blade in because you have ponderous blows. So attacks or abilities. Attack abilities cost 1 AP more. You have violent. You can do punish. You can also do sunder. I would say punish. Blind is really good. But maybe call. So if you could get some double taps, or if you worked again with that AP denial deck that I mentioned Trollbait runs, this is actually quite strong, and violent buffs up. So if you can get just something working, you can also use this with Force Transfusion, then you are looking at quite good damage. Forerunner, I used to run him in the past due to having detection when it was mandatory to have it. I would say you still need detection somewhere, but less these days. Now here, Violent is actually the cheapest one, so that's okay, because pin down, if the target is successfully damaged, if they have free defense, you don't hurt them, so, and it costs 6 or more. It is what it is. This one would be okay, honestly. Declare target, that could be cool. And then just do leap. You could also gain the 6 speed, which would be kind of cool. Like you could do like this, 6 speed, 8 speed, of course. That's actually quite interesting, but leap is fun. You could do like this, for instance, and then could be annoying, but yeah. This is what I might be tempted to swap in though. Draksar Gunner, very OG from the Savage Tundra expansion. So back when I began playing the game, this is actually a champion that I want to see with Violent on, but also at the same time don't want to see with Violent on due to the upgrades. You have precision, you have decent stats, attack gun, but you have piercing shot, so you have 19 damage here that can go through evasive. Then you have punish, but you also have detection. That's really good. So he cannot be assassinated, and he can find characters. Like imagine this guy with Violent on, that would just, it would hurt too much. But I'm thinking of trying him, because for these stats with like 9 damage, that's 19. A banner or a commander, then we're talking 20 damage. Like I'm gonna take Ravenspeaker out, and I might go with the Draksar Gunner. We'll see what I add. Then we have the Draksar Hunter. Declare hunted when it's deployed, that's really cool. You have access to drudgery, controlling the board with AP. Here you could have this, but regen is also nice. Has violent, it's overall pretty cool. Deployed for declare hunted surprise, but other than that, yeah, he's interesting. You can try him out if you want. Interrogator, shred defense, drive, regen, overall these stats Like, he has interesting stuff, but yeah, wouldn't use it. Now, someone on the other hand that I am tempted to run, the Draksar Marauder, because I know there's also SL Mutate, which is kind of cool. Again, you have detection, which is nice. Conqueror for the zone, so for middle front contesting. Attack charged, which can give you attack 2 times. Then you have frightful blows, and then you could also gain dread even. You have violent, and you have a charge firebomb. So overall, really good for the stats, and I would say, yeah, you could get detection. So it is tempting. I sometimes consider running him. One champion that I did run recently when I made this deck is Draksar Marine, due to having pinned down. Sapping Strike as well, 12 damage, range 2 to 5, loses all AP. Regen 1. Now Sweep, I don't want to run because it makes him too expensive and he doesn't have a way to get in there. Amphibious, that's okay, but not that many maps with water these days. Thank God. And then Attack Spear, overall pretty good champion. But yeah, at the moment, if we're looking at a replacement, we're talking Gunner or Marauder. Draksar Morph, really fun one. Metamorphosis is great, and so is Haste. Soften, Imbue, Stun. All of them great choices, but yeah. It is tempting to swap her back in, but also you have Mutate for your own champions. It's really good. But it doesn't really fit my style with this kind of Draksar phalanx style. In a Mutate deck, I would definitely run her. This one, the Persecutor, is actually really interesting because you get clamps, so they get stationary. If you can go in, get an attack off on a range. Mutate Tough, you can get up to Tough 3 due to the supercharge, so it does take some time. He needs to be accessed early. But if you can get up and running, Tough 3 with Regen 3 and Violent Charge, this could be an interesting one. I have ran him before and I feel he's fun. Now this might be someone that we also have for the last spot. Because we have Access Psychic and Attack Fire, we have Sunder, we have some regen. Overall this is really great. Again, here is another champion that doesn't have Violent, which I am extremely thankful for, because I think I would be a little bit too frustrated in Ferg decks. Which is also really fun to face, but they are so annoying. And if a champion here had Violent, oh my god. Radiant Blow, really interesting and great. Draconic Force, I would say overall this is superior, but Draconic Force would be fun to play around as a theme, and then you have access to weaken spells. This would be another way to have it in my deck, and I am tempted to run. I'll probably try it out at some point, if not today. Here we have the Pursuer, who is also very interesting. Logistics flanking. So again, just like the Draksar Master, you can get flanking. He has sleep, he has regen, he has violent, he has detection. You have evasive, and you also have sundered exploit. Fatigue, no AP, sundered or skirt, it gains more on it. So that would be honestly quite interesting. And if you do the AP denial or debuff deck, then you should try him out. I feel he's interesting. I have tried him before. He's okay, but not wow for me. The Spell Sword is honestly really cool because you have weakened spells, but you can also do Spell Breach, Regen 2, Magic Eater, Attack Magic, Violent. He's quite cool. And could be used if the meta really evolved around magic damage or a lot of spells. Then he's kind of cool. Also, Spell Breach, just like Spell Swallower, it finds hidden spells. So that's pretty good against Fogler Swamp, Savage Tundra, etc. Draksar Shifter. To some extent, I'm so sad he doesn't have violent. I like him overall. Adaptation is really cool. Regen life. I remember he got reworked recently, and then they quickly changed him a little bit again. Didn't even get a chance to play with him. So, but overall, really interesting champion. So, I'm just sad um he doesn't have violent, but yeah, especially this pit form is really cool. So, but it was deemed too strong. Now, the Dreadnought is someone that you might be tempted to run in a Draksar deck due to multi-attack, violent, Titan, regen, great stats. I would run him with empowered offense because that means he's great right off the bat, damage and precision. And then I would run him with cleave, but honestly, he just costs too much for his style, so that's why I've taken it out. But he used to be a big mainstay for me in Draksars. Dunewalker is for sand. Fallen Draksar you could run for the if more equipment see the light of day. Regen 2 is actually great, and Hunter Mage. But these stats with Ready, Shadow Violent, overall these stats are great for this character. You might even run him without, which I sometimes do, but because I don't deal so much with equipment these days, I put him on the shelf. But he's definitely something you could consider. Flagellum of the Chains, or just of Chains, he has Punish, Granted Electricity Aura, Terminus, Take Prisoner, Nora Induction, Search Draksar. To some extent, it's kind of cool that you have the Search. Now, I would love to see him with Violent, honestly, for the racial. Also because 84 Nora, I would like to see him getting a little bit of a buff on something because for 84 Nora, that's the same as a Serpentor Ardent. Other factions have like Shul Demon, Garu Kodiak. What else right off the bat is in the mid 80 Noras? There are some Bogs. I just feel he lacks a little bit something. Stats wise are good, but more in ability. Like take Prisoner here. If something has 15 HP or less and this costs 4 AP, it's basically an gain Nora, gain 1 AP somehow, and you can get a kill instead. Homicidal Thug, really interesting one. Life Siphon Scourge, so he heals, he has mutation, he has Grabber, so again, really good for fighting, and just keeps going with attack charged. Then here you can gain Berserker in range and Manic. Like, I've seen him work, but I just don't like this way that it goes. It gains Berserker in range. Like, in range is good, but... And here, Scour, so... Overall, he's interesting for the Nora cost, and 2 defense is not bad. So, Judge Thorn, I might try him, because multi-attack punish, violent regen, judgment. So this could work overall, where we have the other units available. Who did I add call to? Don't remember. But yeah, Judge Soren is interesting. Priest of Fury, also tempting. But I would say I could find something else. I would much rather run the Scion over Priest of Fury. Priest of Fury is great in a fire deck. UD or SLUD, full SL, there's many different choices. Of course, you cannot run him in UD, but either SLUD or full SL is interesting. Rip Demon Alpha, they're okay, but like if they had the leap, then I would probably do the Rip Demon Alpha due to brutality. Reflection is actually not bad, but Protector is also good because that is Draksar's and then Ferocious Bite. Could do like this, honestly. Wouldn't be that bad for a fighter. So Sandstalker Lord, he's amazing in a sand deck. Sand Striker, counterattack melee, Tunnel Sand, Desert Font is just great and regen free. Paradigm, I like. You can do scale armor, you can do spur, so you get some nice damage up and going. You have double here, violent, regen, 7 speed, but you can even get it higher, so overall, it's tempting. Skywing Patrol, horrible, horrible. Hunter Cripple, cripple, at least it works. But like range 1 to 3, those stats, 2x2, kinda clunky. I'm just saying, this is horrible. Like you have, I believe it's the, not even the Balefire Knight, but the other one from UD, that has the arrow shot and just melee, so full UD buff. Yeah, Skywing cost less than Skywing Patrol, but also have Hunter Walker. Don't run him. Now the Valdaki Bolter could be interesting with a more provision deck because you can do this crossbow that's actually okay over time. You have precision, you could have provision speed, so mobility and speed 1. So you are 7 speed. There's no violent, sadly, but could be fun. But I wouldn't run him. And then we have the Worm Priest, who I've never understood his design. Rise of Zerkin, he's never really been changed, and he's just crap. Destroy your own real champion, but SL isn't really a style that fits this. Now, Summon, that's good, but Rite of Power here, that's just not good. So, Worm Priest, he's on the shoe shelf. Let's go talk about some spells. Acid Gale and Acid Storm are actually really interesting. We'll go back to what champion I pick. Acid Gale, you could consider running. You could also say Anti-Magic Field. That might be tempting because there's a lot of spell damage these days. Blood of the Dragon you don't need because you have the High Priest. Blister, that's global for de-stealthing. And Dragon, Skisig or Draksars, they take physical damage, so that could be tempting. Call to War. They gain Desert Camouflage and cost 10 or less the next 3 Draksars you deploy. Then you have Burning Sands, but you kinda need sand to work with that. Cancel Magic, which is basically just a backfire. Wouldn't run it. Cultural Contamination, that's Kanan. This one, if people line up, is actually quite interesting. So Draconic Pulsar, you could consider trying it over something like a Firestorm, but I do prefer the Firestorm due to everything takes 14 damage. And Draconic Sacrifice, it's pretty okay to stay alive. I know some people run it, I wouldn't, but it's okay. Dragon Fear, I actually really like this in SL Dragons, because you are awestruck and distracted and you gain Nora back. Drone Signal Drought, Energy Overload, we're not gonna talk about them. Enslave, I know many people run Enslave in SL. I'm trying to make it work without it, and I feel I don't need it, because this is something where I could, if I had Enslave, it would be at the expense of a champion. I feel all the spells I have at the moment is good, and this is mostly something that you would take over AoE, but people normally know how to line up. Yes, they can take it. You can take a champion attack once or twice, something that has 2 to 4 range, but overall, it's expensive and you give them full AP for their next turn, so they can also probably do 2 attacks. This one is actually not that bad. It's a fun hidden one, but normally people have auras or something else that can go around this, so yeah. I guess that's why people don't run it, that you don't see it in play. Also why I don't run it. Find Information. Friendly Draksar get Battlemaster free for 8 turns. Now this is all Draksar, so it could be interesting, but it's temporarily. Honest Mistake is fun. I don't remember what gold it is, but yeah, it's okay. Horrific Mutation, that's an interesting one. I know people use it in splits because you gain flight, horrific aura, damage, defense, and speed. Case of Vex. This would be good for Acid Fire Split, not really so much for a Draksar. But you could do it just to gain the Vuln, and if you get the kill... No, not if you get the kill. If this effect leaves play before the champion is destroyed, you gain 35 Nora. It's so cheap, so you shouldn't be able to get that 35, but yeah, it's okay. Magnetize I used to run. Relic and Summon Champions, but it's not dominating that much anymore. Skisig, well, this is not a Skisig deck, so we don't need to talk about that. Mathematic Backlash, target champion lose all charges and take 12 acid damage for each charge lost greater than 4 takes more. This was back when the whole charge mechanic came out. It was actually a pretty good one to run, and people would worry if you had it available. Mimic could be fun to work with. And if the meta changes, I would actually suggest that SL players run Nora Trap, because target champion is Nora Trap 4. When this condition is removed, this champion takes magic damage equal to 50% of the amount of non-shrine, non-front Nora its owners generated while it was active. This effect is hidden until triggered. Nora Weave and a lot of Fogler Swamp could actually really hurt this, so you could consider running it, and if I see more KF and Fogler Swamp meta, I might consider running it because it's actually good, or if the Vashals start to really be around a lot, I would consider people to actually remember we have access to the spell. Pack Savagery. Again, that's Kanan, so we don't need to cover that. Planar Dissonance was really popular for a while, because for 6 turns, only enemy champions, and this is all enemy. It says when an enemy, but it means everyone. They lose HP and also all their AP. And it stays in effect. I believe this is something that either it was permanent for all. I don't know if it's now is a 10, if it's just a one time, but I don't believe it's a one time. It's something that stays in effect. So that can really hurt your enemy depending on their decks. It's definitely worth testing. Purge. People know I used to run to love this. I still sometimes wish I had it because you have cleanse and dispel. That's good for both. Some people say it shouldn't be an SL. I disagree, because SL with dragons and Draksars are this religious mutation, and fanatics would have access to something like this that you purge stuff. So lore-wise, you can make a sense for it, and I feel it's not compared to something like that Reaver equip that is so stupid. Sorry to call it out like that, but yeah, I really don't like that there's that IS Forsaken Waste equipment that defiles and you cannot cleanse it. So, and it cleanses the owner as well. Reforge, it's okay, but overall, it is what it is. Sandspout, Sandstorm, I don't feel we need it. Yeah, Scapegoat, Confessor, 35 spell that you have access to as an ability over and over. Rebellion, we don't need that. Summon Dragon, we don't need that. Taint, I sometimes consider running, because they gain raised Draksars, but you already have that. You gain Regen 3 and you gain Draconic Force. So it's really a fun spell. Used to run it on something like a Vindrax, or, you know, target someone who needed this Draconic Force. Touch of Vindrax is actually a really interesting one. Target friendly champion gains Life Siphon and Impatient. So, yeah. Impatient, if you don't attack, then you lose 5 health. If it has a Nora cost of less than 80 and does not have short live, it also permanently gains short live 1. So this would probably be more on, something like Ardent and Basilisk Templar, but this deck doesn't have that many over 80, so wouldn't run it. Vex Core Pram, I used to run this. This is kind of fun. Target champion lose all defense. For 1 turn, champions within 3 spaces take acid damage equal to 3 times the defense lost to a maximum of 5. So this is a nice AoE, but yeah, people normally, if you get 9 out of this, that's okay, and for the damage, that's good. But I stopped running it. Waylay, great for skeezing. So, relics, again, this has been a long video, but I think it's really important that we cover in depth. Fault Marker is an interesting one, because friendly champions have Fearless. There's Fractured Lands, so you AP deny your opponent, and it can be contesting, so that's okay. Then we have the Impairing Sapphire. It has Nora Gem, and it has Impairing Luminescence, so it has feedback. That's okay. Phalanx Mark. I know people really like to run this in Draksars, but I don't feel the need for it. Because, yes, it's nice that you gain Battlemaster 3 out of it, and it has tough 3, and it has Regen and Arrow Eater when it's next to a real friendly champion, but I would rather have Battlemaster on a unit instead of dropping this for contesting. Then I would rather cast a spell, honestly. So, Scoring Jasper, you drop it, and start of own turns, enemy within 2 spaces, 4 spaces take 4 acid damage. You know what? We might just try this because it's same range. So let's just try Scarring Jasper. Also because it gives Scour 2. So this is basically 6 damage that you can get out of it. We'll try that. Slum Market is really interesting because you gain access to Assault, and you also gain access to Strike. So it's tempting, but I just haven't felt the need for it. Tainer Statue. Honestly, this sometimes could be so fun running because 50% more, that means spells do cost a lot, but I also like to use them myself. Venom Trap. I always feel there's so much ability to cleanse blind, so it's okay. Boulder Trap is definitely the one I enjoy most out of all traps. Thorn Traps as well. Don't enjoy it, but those are the ones that I feel are the best. Now let's talk equipment. Acid Fang is interesting. Blade, we already covered it. Bloodthirsty Blade used to be a staple because you gain multi-attack and you gain Skirmisher, short-lived too. But this can be refreshed if you kill units. Bone Splitter Malt. Equipped champion with class Warrior gains Hunter, Fighter, and they get Execute and Extortion free, starts on cooldown. Actually really interesting as well. Dragon Claw basically just means you can do a basic attack for close combat at +4 damage, and they gain Eviscerated. Drake Tooth Rifle. Make a physical attack at range 2 to 5 for 14 damage. Overall, really interesting. Doomwalker's Mantle. Also fun. But again, that works in Saiyan. Then we have the Entropic Clasp. Equipped champion has -1 damage for each 10 HP it currently has, and at the end of its turn it takes 1 acid damage with 1 additional damage for every 10 HP missing. So this is an interesting one, but not worth it. Flamethrower Engine I would much rather run because you gain Flame Strike, Flamethrower, and that's just great. Then we have the Forbidden Fruit. This one used to be quite fun in splits if you have a lot of AP gen. Equip real friendly champion loses all AP when this champion successfully deals damage on a basic attack to a non-avatar champion with an opposing owner. Both champion and this equipment are destroyed. The source of the destruction effect is this equipment, not the equipped champion. This does not trigger if equipped on eternal champions. So, yeah, this one is really fun to work with. Overall, I really like the Forbidden Fruit, but it's really hard to make it work. Heart of Gnash, equipped champion gains attack fire and attack acid. If it already has it, it also gains amplify. Really fun one. Then we have the Indignation. Equipped champion gains call. If champion has range of 2 or max, it also gains energy theft. I might try it at some point in the future because it is cool. Lash your helmet. I really like this one, honestly. I'm tempted to try it. Often because it deals 5 physical damage and then jumps to the other enemy units. It's actually quite interesting. And I sometimes feel like I really want to try it, but I just cannot force myself to put it in the deck. Legion Standard, if you didn't want to run Draksar Lord, you could run here. So you gain access to the Prestige. Peridot Sphere, when this champion takes damage, opposing champions to this equipment's owner. So if you throw it on your enemy units, then they take the damage themselves. Within 4 spaces, 50% of the same damage type to a maximum of 12. So it goes 2 times per turn. You can do some fun stuff with this shenanigans. Collar here, whenever it makes an attack, lose HP. And friendly champions to this equipment owner gain within 5 spaces, gain 1 charge. It's interesting. Now here comes something that's fun. Equipped champion gains Violent if champion has range 2 or less. It also gains in range 2 and Unstoppable. So, I used to think these were working in tandem with each other. But if you gain Violent, you could honestly slap that on something that's range. Because usually it gave Violent if it was range 2 or less. But it seems like it has been changed, huh? This might make me play it a little bit more, honestly, or see if I can find room for it. Because gain Violent on something like the Draksar Gunner, yes, that's a 100 Nor investment, but it would hurt a lot. It's just, can you find room for it, let me know in the comments. Scythe of Gore, this is split, which is basically for Garen or Karin. Serpent scale armor, hard strike if a champion has max range of 2 or less. It also gains speed seal and +1 defense. Skisic blade, this is inhibited, I believe. Tomb of Souls, soul tap, and if it has Ray Stitch, it also gains deconstructed. So let's figure out what champion we're actually gonna be putting in this deck. I know I've taken a long time with this, but yeah, overall there's just so much to cover. And I think we are gonna go ahead and try the Flashblade. We're gonna try the Flashblade with Call and Punish. Like I'm taking a range, so I still want to have range in here. And that means if I don't do him... You know what, I have tried Flashblade before, let's do something OG. Let's one with the Draksar Gunner for the Detect and that 19 damage precision. With a Legionnaire out, that's 21. With a banner, that's 22. So this should be fun to try. So yeah, I've made a little bit of a change here. I usually say between 10 and 20 games. Make some changes to your deck if it isn't working. Draksars, I would say they are strong A, maybe A+. They're definitely not S tier, but for racial themes, they're actually pretty strong overall. And I feel they're a lot of fun. And for me, I really like playing racial themes because it's the way I like the game. And I'm not going into it expecting to win every single game. So that means not really get angry, not really bitter, salty. And I'm able to enjoy this game that I've been playing since 2006, I believe. So yeah. Or was it 7? Doesn't matter. Anyways, what do you think about Draksars? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos like this, where I cover, for instance, Skisik or other SL champions with decks, or maybe even some splits, though that's not really my style. But SL, I would definitely do something with that. Then let me know in the comments, and hope to see you in future videos if you like videos on Poxnora.